Got it. Join, bro. Oh no, we're good. We're good. Sorry, we went in and then we went out. Paul Baird, 1-800-BUY-HOUSES here in Escondido, and just wanted to take a few minutes and talk a little bit about this property that we just purchased in Escondido. And so just maybe kind of a few things I want to do today. First thing I want to do is talk about how we got in front of this homeowner, and then maybe talk more specifically about the process and how we were able to help him make the best decision. And then we'll walk you through the house at the end of the property, or we'll walk through the house at the end of the video and just kind of share with you what we're going to do, with the property. So this was a first for us. We purchased this property. The seller happened to be deaf. And so he called online. He saw our advertisement. And at first, when I picked up the phone, I didn't know if it was like I didn't know if it was some kind of prank call, just some kind of, it's like these days you get all these kinds of calls all the time. But as I was on the phone with him, started to have a conversation with him, he essentially could talk really well, but he couldn't hear. And so when you spoke, he had something that he could read. And so he called us. He reached out. I think it was within 24 hours. We came and looked at the property. And so this particular property is in Escondido. Escondido is kind of a suburb of San Diego. And we've done a number of houses in this area. And so I came, looked at the property. One thing that we were able to connect with the seller on right away was he had written a book. And so we obviously have a book called The Perfect Cash Offer. And so sat right here at his kitchen table, and we exchanged books. And that was kind of a great way for us to be able to connect with the homeowner from the very beginning. And so one thing that I learned right away was, because he could not hear, he was very, very detailed in terms of, what things were in the contract and what things weren't in the contract. And so just to kind of share with you, my first initial walkthrough with the property was that he wanted too much money and that he was better off putting the property on the market, because that's how he was going to get the most amount of money. But as I started to be able to get to understand the seller's situation better, it became apparent that he really, really valued the peace of mind and the certainty that we could provide him, or that a cash buyer could potentially provide him. I was the second or third person to come and take a look at the property. From the very beginning, he had done some research on us. And so when we walked into the door, we already had some pretty significant credibility with him because of the reviews and because of what other sellers had said about their experience working with us. And so, to be honest with you, when I first walked the property, I didn't really think it was going to be a good fit, because the house, and you'll see this when we walk through it, it's not in terrible condition. Yes, he probably would have had to straighten some things up, but with a week's worth of work, and I'm just talking putting boxes away, put stuff away, he could have gotten this in a position to sell it on the market. That was just not something that he wanted to do. He had a realtor come take a look at it, and he had 2 other cash offers that I know he had in hand. And so when I came and looked at the property, I walked it, I just said, hey, listen, you're looking for way more than I'm willing to pay for it. And so, but he was very anxious to get a number. And so I think that my initial number was 750, and he wanted 630. And I just told him, I says, hey, that's not something that I'm going to be able to do. But he had an offer at, I'm sorry, those numbers are screwed up. We offered him 550. He had an offer, or he wanted 630 or 650 is where he started, but he had an offer at 600. And so I told him, I said, hey, if you have an offer at 600, that's a really good offer, and I would take that number. Well, this conversation happened over a series of weeks. And so I told him that my number was 750. He said that it was too low. And so I said, hey, great, go explore other options. And so every week or two, he would kind of check in and say, hey, is it still 750? And I says, hey, that's just kind of where I need to be at. And so he got the offer for 600, and he did not like the terms of the agreement. And I will be the first to say that most homeowners don't look at the terms and the fine print of the purchase agreement that they get, right? They're only interested in the number. He was different. And I think because he's so detailed, just because he can't hear, right? And so he just takes in things differently than maybe most people. And so he reads everything. And so when he got the purchase agreement from somebody else, he could see that, in his words, the purchase agreement was super gimmicky, right? It had ways out of the agreement for the buyer. And so I came back and actually looked at the property because he was anxious to see if I could pay any more than $750. And so when I came back to the property, I said, hey, listen, can I come and bring my contractor? So understand, at this point, I didn't have a purchase agreement with him. I just said, hey, listen, I'll come back out of good faith, come back with my contractor, we'll walk it so I can give you a for sure number. And so when I came back, that's when he had these two other offers. And so we walked it, and my contractor kind of confirmed what I thought would be the rehab on the property. And so when I was here, we sat down and I looked at the purchase agreement from the other buyer. And nothing against the other buyer, but it was pretty standard, right? It gave them the ability to be able to walk away, 14 days into the agreement. And he didn't want any of that. And so one thing that he asked the potential buyer is that if he could write that part of the agreement, and they weren't really flexible with him. And so he did not like that. That was one thing that I was willing to do. If I could agree on the number, right? Because I had my contractor already come take a look at it. I felt comfortable with what the rehab is. There's a pretty good idea of what the value is. There's a property right next door that had sold for $720 that wasn't completely rehabbed. And so I was comfortable with my number if he wanted to write basically his terms. And his terms really weren't they weren't, what's the right word? They weren't really he just wanted to make sure that the terms were airtight, right? That the 48 and after the 48-hour contingency, that the earnest money goes non-refundable. I mean, that's what we put in our purchase agreements anyway, but he wanted to change the wording, and I was completely fine with him doing that. So eventually, right after reading the purchase agreement with him, I told him, take that other offer at 600. That's almost $50,000 more than what I can offer. And he said, well, can you do 575 because it's worth the peace of mind and the certainty that you're willing to provide, because he was not comfortable with those terms. And so I wasn't able to do 575. if I had been, I would have taken it, right? I'm not trying to get the absolute lowest possible price I can. If there's a number that we can get, um, or if there's a number we can give a homeowner and that's their number, we'll absolutely do it. I know there's different, thought processes on that, but if the homeowner says they want $1 million and I can pay $1 million, I'll pay him $1 million. Um, but I just couldn't pay, 575 what I thought or what he wanted. But I think the important part of that is that for him at that moment, the peace of mind and certainty was worth 25 grand. He went from 600 to 575 and just said, "Hey Paul, can you do 575? Your contract, your agreement and your terms is worth $25,000 to me." Right? So, make a long story short, we ended up between 575 and 550. Um, but it was really our terms, right? In terms of the peace of mind and the certainty that we could provide the homeowner, that was really, really important to him. It was our reputation, right? And it was just the fact that we were willing to accommodate. One thing that was a big concern, and it's interesting because we'll walk through the property, and he didn't really leave a lot of stuff, but he was adamant in the contract, and he wrote it himself as far as what he could leave and what he couldn't leave, right? And we've literally purchased houses where the entire house was still there in terms of stuff. Like he got the majority out of it. This chair that I'm sitting on is like one of the things that it's like one of the things that he left. Maybe I should close this right here. But that's kind of the story. And so once we agreed on the price, he had a closing date of I think August the 12th. I think we ended up closing on the 5th just because he had moved his stuff out. But he was so appreciative of really just the framework of the perfect cash offer and the value that it could provide him. And I often have this conversation with homeowners, and it's like, from a financial standpoint, it would have been best for the homeowner to put the property on the market. There's absolutely no question about that. But that wasn't what was most important to him. And so, what was important to him is agreeing on a price and then closing on that price. And so I met him here on Friday, gave me the keys, and he was just so happy. And 3 or 4 different times, "Paul, thank you so much. Thank you so much." And so it's times like that and moments like that where uh, you know, there's a sense of fulfillment knowing that we were able to agree on a price and close on that price and really provide him the things that he wanted. And so that's kind of the story with him. It was very interesting, just kind of with his situation as far as closing and things. But all in all, I think it went pretty good. So that's the story. Um, and I don't think we would have been able to, buy this deal without the perfect cash offer. And I just can't say enough, like how much homeowners appreciate the transparency and the clear terms of the perfect cash offer. So I'm gonna turn the camera around and let's see if I can do this. And I'm not seeing if anyone's even on this, which is totally fine. Can I see people? I don't know. All right. So let's I'll take you through the property. Oh, right here. I'm gonna take you through the property. We can walk through it. You can get an idea of kind of the condition of it. But first, nope, don't want that. This is amateur hour. Well, maybe I'll just turn it around. Sorry. Like, all right, we don't want that. Who's ready to take a look at this property? That's what I want to know. All right, I'm gonna do my best and just kind of we'll walk through it like this, and hopefully you can kind of get an idea of the layout, the condition of everything. So I'll take you out. Here's the front. Here. So it's nice. We're at the end of a cul-de-sac here. There's our neighbor's house that's sold 722. So 2-car garage. One thing that I'm like a little bit nervous about is how short our driveway is, but I think it'll be fine. So we walk in to I do not know the best way to do this. I'm gonna walk into the front door right here. And so we've got a bedroom. We've got a bedroom. He kind of used it as an office off the entrance with a bathroom. So there's really nothing here to do other than we are going to update. So we'll change the tub, put a new tub, tile, and then we'll update the cabinets here, and then the lights and things. We'll keep the doors, and then update the flooring. One thing that was funny about this is he basically kept this Christmas tree up year round, and then he just decorated it for whatever season it was. So here's our living room right here, and then here's our kitchen. And so the cabinets are in good enough shape that we're going to keep the cabinets, the fridge, we're going to keep that. And so we'll update the countertops and the appliances there. And then just basically up here is just flooring and paint. I would say one of the things that makes this property unique is our view. And so we've got a cool deck off here. So one of the things that's actually kind of funny is, when we were kind of negotiating, he was trying to see if we could pay more money, is he would send me pictures off the deck and be like, Paul, you can get $750 for this house easy. And we'll see where it ends up at, but I definitely think that's definitely a nice feature that not all the properties kind of in this little community have. So you got one bedroom upstairs and a bathroom, and then you just have your kitchen and your living area here, which is the space is actually really nice. And so we'll go downstairs. So we'll redo this carpet. It's just kind of worn. And we'll put laminate. We're gonna do laminate throughout the whole thing. Come down the stairs. We have a closet right here. Something kind of interesting is this right here is under the house. So I guess it's extra storage, but the plumbing's good in it. It's ABS. And so this is just a closet. And then down here, this is our master or our primary bedroom. You can go off, there's kind of a patio there. And then you've got our master. We got our master bathroom here. So this right here is perfect. We're not gonna do anything here. So we have somebody that I bring in that she's a designer. She's actually called a colorist. And well, that's just one of the things that she does. And so one of the things when I met her here this morning was, and these are just kind of the details that I don't know. But she said, when you change this paint color to be, it's yellow right now, but once you change the paint color, it's going to brighten this whole thing. It's going to brighten this whole thing up. So we're going to leave this primary shower here, and then we'll update this here with new cabinets. So what she does for us is she chooses paint colors, she chooses cabinets, and she's awesome at tying in existing cabinets. Like upstairs in the kitchen, like she'll choose the flooring, she'll choose the paint color, so like everything ties in. And so that's a huge added benefit for us, because then all those finishes are done. So then you have another bathroom right here. And this bathroom will update the floor, bathroom, tub, new vanity there. And then we've got I guess third, this is our third bedroom. This is our third bedroom here. So it's a three bedroom, three bath. We're basically updating two bathrooms. We're updating the flooring. We're updating cabinets. We're leaving this here. And that's it. Like, from our standpoint, from an investment standpoint, like properties like this, we really like, because they are, in a sense, cookie cutter, but there's not a whole lot that can go wrong on a property like this. Cross your fingers, right? You never know. There could be something, but um, a pretty good property to add value to, and then you've got the garage. So that is this property in Escondido. I don't know. My guess is I'm going to meet my contractor here tomorrow. But a rehab like this, I think, when it's all said and done, I think a rehab like this, you're going to be in. A rehab like this, I think you're going to be in 80, and we'll see. Market's kind of weird right now, so we'll let the chips fall where they fall. And so once we've executed on the perfect cash offer, then we try and execute on the perfect rehab, and then we want the perfect sale after that. So that's it. Oh, I was gonna say, I think this is probably gonna take, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks to do. But I'll have a better idea tomorrow. So for those of you that got on this live on Facebook, on YouTube, thanks for joining. Do you love it? I love real estate, just so you know. Like, real estate, buying houses, adding value, talking to homeowners. For me, I absolutely love it. I love talking about it. I don't really talk about it a lot on social media. Haven't really done it, but I feel like, hey, after having done this for, a little while, I think that there's maybe some value I can add to, maybe from a homeowner's perspective, maybe a real estate agent's perspective, maybe another investor's perspective. I don't know. But at the end of the day, we are in the business of creating win-win situations for everyone. And so thanks for joining. And let me see. Are there any questions? I can't even see if there are people on here. So if you had questions, DM me on Instagram or Facebook, or write something on YouTube, or call me 858-449-1564. 1-800 buy houses. Paul Baird. We're here to help. We're here to elevate the credibility of the industry. And that's it. Go out and make this the best Monday that you've ever had.